Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is October the 3rd, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441. On the ancient sun calendar in 2021, on the Greco-Roman or civil calendar, the citizen's calendar. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, ancient, original, indigenous, natural, divine, Article 3, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American, court action. I am sovereign, living justice, Pauline Ricky, in capitis, diminutio, nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona juris, in proprio solo, in proprio heredis. My free, chosen, sovereign appellation is like the chainge, in capitis, diminutio, nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis. We are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith, trust, allegiance, credit, and energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We hereby exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. We are the sovereign living state of Morocco from time immemorial into perpetuity. I want to give recognition and acknowledgement for the crescent moon energy that is on the earth right now. We know that the crescent moon is symbolic for us, both energetically, at law, and cosmologically and astrologically. So whenever the crescent moon shows, we know then that in times past, the moon phases would always mark the beginning of a new month. And we've gotten away from that with the civil calendar, the one that we've been previously using in our fleet. But at some point, we're going to have to get back, all the way back to the 30-day month. And the 30-day month is marked by the moon and what phase it's in. Okay, so generally the new moon marks a new month, and that's how it was in ancient times. And it also depended on the culture. For some, when they saw the crescent moon, it meant a new month for them. And then for others, when they saw a full moon, it meant a new month for them. So, but for us, I believe from ancient times, it was the new moon started the new month in its Islamic Muslim cosmology and astrology. So at some point we will start marking our new month at that time. And then just announcing, like we do at the beginning of the call, the day of the month that it is for us. And then we'll announce the time that we are coming out of. Additionally, right now, we are in the year of Jubilee. And I'm not sure if many of you are aware that we're in the year of Jubilee, but we just entered the year of Jubilee. And the year of Jubilee signifies Okay. Yes, it depends on. So in the chat, Justice Jeremiah put moon calendar has 28 days each month and a total of 13 months per moon calendar year. Yes. And so we as a nation and as the government are going to have to ensure that we agree on what the time is and what, when that starts and when it ends. Okay. The new moon marks the new month for us generally. So if we're moving to a 13-month year, then, we just need to start marking it that way. Okay. And that 28 days that you're referring to there, Justice Jeremiah, is actually where they got that whole leap year thing from, where they would make that leap. So we'll do the math, some more math. Justice Jeremiah put the math in the chat. 28 days each month, a total of 13 months per year. And the moon calendar year has 364.25 days per year Islam. That's good math there. That is good math. So we want to be sure that that as time goes on, we infuse everything that we're doing with our own culture, our ancient culture. And that's really what we're all called to do, is to reintroduce our culture into everything that we do, whether it be working, vacationing, whatever it is that we're doing, speaking, entertaining, whatever it is, we need to be bringing our culture fully into whatever it is that we're doing and go ahead and make the changes. Because our culture was hijacked. But we have to take responsibility for that because we were not putting our own culture forth. Okay? So we want to be sure that we, just one moment. We want to be sure that we bring our own culture back into everything that we do. Go back to move forward. Yes. Islam, yes indeed. So with that being said, this is the year of Jubilee. And I want to read to you, because the Jubilee has a lot to do with our own money, our moorishe sovereign dollarium. So if you'll look on the screen, this is where the year of Jubilee is mentioned. I won't say this is where it comes from because it comes from us. But this is a passage out of the bibliotext that tells us about the year of Jubilee and how that is supposed to be done, where all debts are forgiven and each one goes to their own property, and then we start doing commerce among ourselves. That's what the Jubilee year is all about. So in Leviticus, the 25th chapter, verses 13 through 17, and again, we're referring to the bibliotext, not in the anthropomorphic sense that we were taught, where it's some child's play type of situation. It's where we give it the real meaning and use it as a record, okay, of what we do, okay? So when you look at, just one moment. So when you look at this scripture, okay, this script, this writing, just one moment. When you look at this writing on the screen, verses 13 through 17, So let's take a look at that. It says, in this year of Jubilee, everyone is to return to their own property. And verses 14 through 17 tell us how to use moorishe sovereigne. It says, if you sell land to any of your own people or buy land from them, do not take advantage of each other. Verse 15 says, you are to buy from your own people on the basis of the number of years since the Jubilee. And they are to sell to you on the basis of the number of years left for harvesting crops. Verse 16 says, when the years are many, you are to increase the price, and when the years are few, you are to decrease the price, because what is really being sold to you is the number of crops. In other words, something natural. Verse 17 says, do not take advantage of each other, but fear your God, which is you and each other. So when I'm looking at you, I'm my God, you are your God. And we are to respect one another in our commercial dealings. Okay. It says, I am Islam, Justice Theodore, Islam. Here, I'll go ahead and close it off. Yep, we can stop that noise in the chat from foreign, energy. Okay, so there you go. So what is that saying with regard to Delarium? We're supposed to be using our own money to buy from each other, and that's what we've been saying about Delarium, haven't we? Where, for example, Justice Theodore, if you saw a property that you wanted, that you were interested in, and the property was listed for sale, let's just say, and the courts could have listed it for sale, but what you would do is you would say, okay, I'm going to get with another Moor, and we'll do the exchange between us because it's a land issue. Okay? And so you would go through the real estate process of purchasing the land and the real estate, but you would give the Delarium to another Moor. You wouldn't give it to the hybrid, and then you would notify them. And we've gone through those processes because there's a specific process for that. But that is the way that we should be doing things right now, just like we did in the demonstration that we did with the Empress who the courts gave her a ticket, okay, attempted to give her a ticket, okay, and she and I did a court action back and forth. She did a court action and she put 10,000 in Delarium in the email. She scanned it in after she autographed it in red and all lowercase letters and put her right red thumbprint. And she did a court action, and she sent that court action to me with a copy to the violators. Then I sent the court action back to her saying it's been received. My response to her was in court action format, and I accepted and received what she sent and said that we recognize you as the Empress of our nation, one of the empresses in our nation, and this court, which is our Article 3 court, acknowledges everything that you've said. It is true. This sovereign justice stands as law. So we received the 10,000 Delarium that she sent, and that took place between two Moors, and we just notified the hybrids that the foreigners who were attempting to violate her or misidentify her, we just notified them and copied them in on our exchange as if they were a third party, non-interested third party, and then they corrected their records. Okay. They corrected their records and they dismissed the policy enforcement. And that is how we should be doing everything that we're doing right now. That is, and this Leviticus, the 25th chapter, is actually taken from the ancient records. The whole biblioheliotheque is taken from the ancient records. And yes, it has been, it's been hypothecated by those who were claiming to translate it, but when they were translating it, they were translating it incompetently. Okay? We are our own God. So, there's mistranslations that happen in there that we can correct. It's easy for us to correct it, so we don't even worry about it. We just pull it forth and then correct the record on the record. So, are there any questions or comments about the Dollarium piece and how to use it? It's right there. And you can unmute yourselves if you have any questions about the Dollarium and about how to use them.
Islam,
Empress.
Empress Aisha, Michigan Territory. How does the Roman, the other side, get paid anything for their, or whatever it is they claim to own?
Ask the question again, Empress. How does the other side do what?
Get paid for whatever it is they claim that the Moors owe them.
They don't get paid because we don't owe them anything. We don't have any debt. They don't get anything from what we get except to.
Hey, Pauline, why didn't you help Montina along?
That we're competent to do the exchange. Because really, the only reason that they were doing any of the things that they were doing, Empress, is to show us how to do it. That's the only reason they were doing anything. They were using fake money and all of that. It's almost like they were playing Monopoly the whole time.
Okay.
Okay. So all we do is look at what they did, just like our prophet said, they were going to leave the European here long enough to teach us how to govern. And then we do it between one another. The Moors do the exchanges between one another.
Okay. Islam.
Islam, and especially where real estate is concerned, we do the whole process and then create the allodial title and all of that and put all of that on the public record and show that a financial exchange has taken place. That's the part that, over the years, we've had some really, over the years, we have had more to do domicile demonstrations. And those domicile demonstrations, they were good demonstrations. The Moors did, they were competent. But the only thing that was missing was our own money, showing that, okay, we rebutted the fiat. So we got that part taken care of. So whenever we look at what the hybrids did, we just match that point for point. And our point for point is always going to supersede what they do, So just making sure that the financial piece is there. For example, with one of the properties here, the one that we've been talking about the whole time, which is the First Avenue property, I waited the 90 days, which was up about maybe 3 weeks to a month ago, maybe. The 90 days were up for the last lien that I put on there. And I wasn't going to go back there until after I put the money on the record. So what I did was I scanned in, I think it was about $2.5 million in moorishe sovereign, and scanned it in, autographed it, and all of that, and then made notes and attached everything, the lien and all of that, to the email. And then I sent that to one of the empresses and did it as a court action, and I copied those pretending to, and I'm going to mute you all just because there's a little bit of feedback coming in, but please unmute yourselves when you're ready to, say anything, just *6, Empress. And so I sent the email to one of the empresses with all of that scanned in, the lien, the court actions, because I had done court actions, the title and all of that, and the money. And I scanned in all of the lawyers and sent it to her. And then all she did was witness it and send back a court action saying, all rise and stand. This is the sovereign, Article 3, et cetera, we recognize and acknowledge this exchange, okay? And this sovereign justice stands as law. So the electronic funds transfer took place already to the tune of a little over, I believe it was a little over 2.5 million. So we did that, and then she did it back. And so now all we're doing is ensuring that all of the documents and the proper notification and delivery receipt, because the majority of the documents from that exchange, I did sovereign postmaster duties so that there would be no fiat involved in that whole demonstration. So I just recorded my delivery of the documents to the fake courts and to the, those who were claiming the building. And then I did our mailing process where we don't pay for postage. I did that mailing process and got the return receipt for that. Sending notification of liens and all of that to the corpses attempting to do all of that. All of that was done. It's on the record. The delarium is there. The only thing left to do is I haven't sent the actual delarium that I printed out. I need to send that to the Empress so that she can log it in and deposit it into her bank so that that exchange can be finalized. So I have to mail the delarium to her, the actual delarium and the documents to her, a copy of the documents to her, saying this is a completed sale. So we're doing the same thing. And, when we were purchasing domiciles in our sleep, sometimes it would take 30 days, some 60, some 90 days for all of that to be complete, and some longer than that. It just depends on what had to go back and forth and what needed to be done and what kind of, inspections and all of that needs to be done. And we've inspected that place. We put the inspection on the public record. And I believe you all may have seen the video clip of us going into the building on First Avenue and looking around and recording what we saw and, all of that. So that was on the public record as well. So we did, that was a basic fire marshal and regular inspection of the building. I wanted the inspection to be more complete than that though. So that's what we're going to be working on now, is finalizing everything, making sure that everyone is properly notified, and then going from there on the building. Generally, real estate and domiciles and things like that, it takes a minute because there's things that we have to get together to do, especially commercial buildings and especially where we are in the process. So that's why we're not rushing the process or anything like that. We're just going through step by step and making sure that we can, that we get in there. you know, and do do each step. We're not wanting to miss any steps in the process. Okay. So when you're talking about real estate, Morris, take your time. It shouldn't be something that you're rushing to do, because real estate never was a rush process. It can be done in a decent amount of time, but we want to be proactive, and we want to make sure that we don't miss any
What's
steps,
taking so long on First Avenue,
and anything like that. So we want to be sure that, you know, that we get everything done. He was booted out by the time I got to
what the fuck is taking so long on First
about
Avenue?
that building, and so he missed that part. But it's okay. He'll hear it on the recording. Islam nobility.
Yes, you're correct. We need to take our time with real estate. I went through such a transaction. I haven't done it a load of years yet, but having done it before in the under the corporation, it takes several months, you know. So we take our time and we understand the process, and dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and there's no rush. We don't need to be hurried by albions, you know. We take our time. First, we identify, especially so-called abandoned commercial properties, right? We identify them, and we have a proper record system where we store the data, right? And the process that you're speaking of sounds quite good, where we have actual transactions with the dollarium, right? That really is a commercial exchange. Another good thing I like this here about from Leviticus 25, you know, this Jubilee is time for us to move the property from where it was falsely claimed to those of us who are prepared to state our claim. All right, is that the time has come. Okay. Islam.
True. Thank you, Justice Jacqueline. That's true. We just have to calm down and, you know, and just take it step by step and moving along through the process. There's another part of the process that was recently brought to light that we're putting together now, and it has everything to do with everything that we've been doing, you know. And it's kind of going to round everything out and bring everything together, you know. So from day one to now. And then we'll publish what we do. Okay. I'm excited about that part too, because I feel like our ancestors are saying, okay, you all have done everything you need to do. Now put it all together and then start using the tools that you have. That's the same thing. That is the exact same thing that the ancestors told me when I went to do the POW camp demonstration. And I got to a certain point in the demonstration from the beginning, and they said, okay, and I mentioned this before, use the tools that you have, because I'm like, okay, ancestors, I know this is a test. What do we do now? And they said, now, you got everything you need to get you through this test. Use the tools that you have. And sure enough, tools work like a charm. So, and I feel in my spirit that we're there now again, where they're saying, okay, put everything that you have together and then use it. I know our ancestors, they know what they're doing through all of us. So, and again, there's no rush. Let's just take it step by step, piece by piece, because this last piece, and this is the part about them revealing things and showing us things. This last piece was actually a suggestion that we got from the very beginning. This last part It's something we heard 3.5 years ago when we first started doing restoration of the consular court venues. So we're going to be letting all of that out once we kind of just put everything together. We put together, and I'll say this more about all of us because we did it together. We have put together a very powerful, very effective package of processes to get things done. We have everything we need. We've got delarium, we've got our own court, we've got our own everything. We have statehood. And again, these things are things that were from ancient times that we had, and all we did was just connect this time period with that time period. And now I can just, in my spirit, it's almost like the ancestors are sitting right here saying, okay, you got everything you need, put it all together, and then go forth. So that's what we're doing. So are there any other questions or comments of any kind with regard to what we've done thus far?
Islam,
Justice Day.
yes. With regard to what you were saying earlier, the heirs trading only with each other, could you go over that again? Because if we do an allodial claim on a property that we want, we purchase it through another heir rather than send the delarium to the subject that's occupying the property? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yep. Because in reality, the ones that are occupying the property are squatting. They're not really. They're doing just that, occupying. Now, as a suggestion, I would suggest to choose let your first demonstration the property demonstration be on a property that's not occupied. That would be my suggestion. But we can't tell sovereigns what to do, so sovereigns can do what they want to do. But my suggestion is do it on one that's not occupied.
Well, it's a property because we're looking for a facility to operate from. And somebody, one of the corporations has occupied a property I really, really want, you know. And, you know, if it's desirable like that, I mean, you know, you're saying we shouldn't go for it unless it's abandoned?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And in fact, if you want to go for it, of course go for it, because here's the thing. We've been doing that anyway. Now, just to say, if you think about the processes that we have been using thus far, what have we done? We lean corporations and lean people, and they are out. A lot of them have gone. They're not even in those places anymore. Let's just think about that for a minute.
You lean First Avenue and it didn't do any fucking good, Pauline.
Bill Gates as an example. I'll use Bill Gates as the subject, Bill Gates. And we're not mad at anybody, and we're not saying anything ugly. We're just telling what we did and seeing where we are now. It took a minute from the time we leaned them at the domicile for them to leave the domicile, but they're out of the domicile. But it took, what, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, for that whole process to take place. And so now what's going on? Well, we're still watching and seeing what else the ancestors have for us, so that we're not in any rush. The ancestors are showing us as we make a move, they say, okay, look, you can see that works, but there's still more. Okay, so listen up, watch, and then do some study and see what to do next. And then they'll show us something else. Okay, do this. And then we do that demonstration on top of what we did previously, and they'll say, okay, look, They're out of the domicile, but is it time for you to go and move in? Not yet. Let's see what else is next. And that's when the diallarium came. I still haven't done a sovereign exchange on that domicile at Medina. So I need to do that.
And then you would give the diallarium to another heir or more instead of.
It would go to the Amexum Land Bank. It would go to the Amexum Land Bank, Empress today, or any of the other Moors who are doing real estate. If they have stated on the public record that they're doing real estate transactions, then you send them the diallarium. And you but see, the ones who stand to do the demonstrations, like if I was to say, okay, I'm going to be doing real estate demonstrations, so anyone wanting to purchase real estate or do the exchange, rather, not purchase, but do the exchange on the real estate, let me know, send me an email, and what we'll do is your email should come already in court action status with the title and the liens and you notifying everybody and a court action already done and all of that. All of that should come as a court action to me, and then I'll look through and see, okay, they created a lodial title. They show that everything was, that notification was properly delivered. They counted out the diallarium, and this is the amount that they're paying, that they are exchanging. And then I would do a court action back and say, okay, and they also, whoever it is, they need to have liens on the tax assessor and everybody that's on the tax assessor list for that domicile. So the process must be complete when it goes to as complete as can be. And then those who are going to be doing real estate, first of all, you have to accept diallarium, or else we don't patronize them. We don't go to them. See, that thing about no one can buy or sell unless they do a certain thing, that's happening right now. We don't do business with anybody that's not accepting diallarium. It's right there in the record that's how it's supposed to go. We're supposed to be doing it between each other, not them. No wonder they don't accept diallarium. They can't. It's gold back. If they could have accepted gold back, they'd have done it themselves and wouldn't need us. So we do it between each other, and then make sure that notification is given. That's the key to all of this. And then don't be so quick to move. Take your time. Create a lodial title and do all of the steps that need to be done. Study the real estate process before you do anything else. Islam, nobility.
Yeah, is that process speeding up at all? I mean, I guess we have to do it for a minute, right? For it to.
If you want to do it, you have to do it for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's speeding up as fast as you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Islam.
One last question.
It says, the land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye are strangers and sojourners with me, and in all the land of your possession ye shall grant a redemption for the land.
Yes, that's what it is. That's what exchange is. Yes.
A repurchase or buying back. That's where we can apply our Moorish sovereign diallarium, because redemption.
Yes.
Dictionary says a purchase, a repurchase, a buying back, the act of a vendor of property in buying it back again from the purchaser at the same or an enhanced price. The right of redemption is an agreement or paction by which the vendor reserves to himself the power of taking back the thing sold by returning the price paid for it, Civil Code LA Art 2567. But it's the process of annulling and revoking a conditional sale of property. That's where we can apply a moorishe delariums. I yield.
Yes, Empress Tia, thank you so much. That's Empress Tia of the Honduras and Bay Islands, Empress. She's been doing the study too on that real estate piece and how the scriptures apply to what we're doing and the year of Jubilee and where the delarium come in. She's done some highly competent study there. And we appreciate that, Empress Tia, and that's also, and I cannot forget Chief Israel, Chief Yakinen. He is on the call as well. The Washita Nation done some excellent study on the year of Jubilee and how that ties in with what we're doing. So we were never supposed to be doing business with corpses because we're not corpses. But we had to develop our own money back again because we've had it before. We just needed to do that again. And then fulfill the scriptures, fulfill the ancient texts that say do it between one another. And then we know from what our teachers have told us to notify. And then take our time, do each step and notify each time, whether it be, however you're led to do that, and keep going. We've been working on that building on First Avenue because, again, this is the furthest outside of capitalism in our view, because we were never a part of capitalism, really, not corporate capitalism. This is the furthest that we've been outside of, knowingly outside of that system. And so it has been since February that we were working on that building on First Avenue. But I knew, and the ancestors knew, once they took me through those tests, I knew then that they were saying, okay, here's some things we want to show you. Don't get in a rush. Just do what we told you to do. And then mark the time period between each action so that you can see there's a 90-day period with the lien. So I did another lien, and that's the lien. I didn't tell anybody I did a second lien on that place. The foreign hybrids that come in here are the ones who spilled the beans because they've been watching the paperwork, spilled the beans, and they're the ones who said, oh, your 90 days is up on September 6th. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did you know that? Because I didn't tell anybody that. I didn't tell anybody I did a second lien on that place. So I knew they were watching, and I know that the documents are working. So, and then I go by the place every now and then just to see, what's going on. That's our place. It's ours. The ancestors are saying, just be patient and do the process. No problem. Nobody's there. It's good. And again, they were there previously. And then by the time we got done with the demonstration in February, they had emptied that place out and was gone and marked it vacant. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, and then the ancestor said, okay, now do this, and then just watch to see how things turn out. So this is the year of Jubilee. That's how we do it, is between one another. So pair up with one or two more where you all can just do court actions back and forth. And it's a two-step process once the Moor has done their due diligence in terms of the title and the lien, and making sure you have a lien on the social and the dead at law name, and that you do a fiduciary document too, because that's another piece that we needed to add to that. And the fiduciary piece came to us, but when the ancestors brought that piece, they brought to my remembrance hearing one of the hybrids, and some of you have heard of this one particular hybrid, who goes by the name of Anna von Wright, saying something about the fiduciary, she claimed to be the fiduciary for the whole earth or for the whole world or something like that through the Pope or something she claimed like that. But it had me thinking, well, what does fiduciary have to do with anything? This was a while back. This was, a while back that I heard that, probably a year and a half or so. And I knew that, okay, at some point we'll look at that piece, but the ancestors had not given us that piece yet because there were some other things that they wanted us to see first. And then then they gave us recently the fiduciary document. But the fiduciaries, they wanted us to be the fiduciary, and this is for all Moors. They wanted all of us to be the fiduciary for the ancient state of Morocco. Not just for ourselves. We know we're the trustees for our own vast estate, but they wanted us to be the fiduciary for the ancient state of Morocco. That's what they really wanted with regard to the fiduciary piece. They wanted us to step up because someone has to do that. And all Moors could do it. Just like all Moors are justices and judges. And here's the thing about when we say all Moors can do something. When we say all Moors can do something, not all Moors are going to want to do it. So that's going to weed out a few Moors. And then other Moors are just going to say, you know what, I'll just let somebody who knows, who wants to study that or who's interested in that, because I'm only interested in this over here. And that's going to weed out some more Moors in terms of the fiduciary piece. Now, again, we're always a part of our nation. That won't even change. Even if today we said, I don't want to be a part of the Moorish nation, too bad, you got the blood, you're it. So, the fiduciary piece is important because it carries a lot of weight where the state of Morocco is concerned. Because then that means that you can be fiduciary on, many levels. In terms of the sovereign resources that belong to the state of Morocco. And that's another thing about that place on First Avenue that the ancestors wanted to put forth. That, that place is not for light to Evvery Bay. It's not for just light to claim. And I knew that because I and all Moors in all of my documents. But now it's like, okay, the state of Morocco is actually claiming it. Just like when those modern Europeans, when you see them issue a war rant or something like that, and the war rant will, for their corpse will say, State of Washington versus John Johnson. Same thing, except we're the ancient state of Morocco, and we're the fiduciary for our state. All of us. That's important. That's very important. So as we're doing these pieces, we're claiming the real estate for the state of Morocco. That way it never leaves our possession.
It's a felony to file a false claim.
Even if we like if we move on from that place, the place still belongs to the state of Morocco. Still. If we move on and other Moors want to do, then they would say, okay, we see that on the record, the state of Morocco via, let's just say, Pauline Denise Ritchie as fiduciary, and she has her contact information on the document. So then, okay, let's see about getting that place because we want to take that place since she has moved. They have moved their operations elsewhere. That way we're doing things between one another. And then we notify the subjects because the subjects have to correct their records too. The subjects have to do that. And that way we are changing the system and turning over the tables of the money changers and putting everything back like it's supposed to be. That's why we notified them, because their records are supposed to change too. which is something that, you know, when we first started this work, I was thinking, I don't care if y'all change them or not. We are who we say we are. And the ancestors said, okay, you can keep that attitude. That's good, because you're going to need to charge ahead. But then at some point, they have to get in subject status and do what they're supposed to do too, because all the systems belong to us. And that's something the ancestors gave us back. We've done videos on that, you know, saying that the systems belong to the Moors and, you know, removing the corporate covering off the system, and that's what the liens are for. So when someone sends you whoever the real estate Moors are, and we can have real estate Moors in all territories, and we can have as many real estate Moors as we want to have, but they have to do delarium. They can't do that other stuff, because I'm telling y'all something about that delarium. Y'all listen, please hear me, that's real. It's real. That is real. And that'll be made clearer over the next few weeks and months. So right now, we just need to go back and get certain parts of make sure that the real estate piece is all put together. Islam is it.
The thing is that House Joint Resolution 487 that was brought into effect by Ronald Reagan made the Bible the foundation lawful document that enforces the Constitution, right? Also, Senate Joint Resolution 165.
Yeah.
And proclamation.
So what does that mean, Empress?
Well, it means
how can we use that?
Our documents, we can quote, like you're quoting Leviticus chapter 25. We can quote it from a lawful holy writ, which is the sacred writings including the Holy Bible. But it comes with legislative, administrative powers in enforcing our Constitution through House Joint Resolution 487, Senate Joint Resolution 165, and Proclamation 5018.
Yes. Oh, Empress, that's beautiful. See, when we were quoting the biblioheliotext, because we've been doing that all along the way, as we were quoting it, you know, some Moors were like, we don't want that, you know, that's a book we can burn. And I'm like, no, don't burn it, because in reality, the biblioheliotext is a trust document, just like the Constitution, that we said, because see, the biblioheliotext is taken from the ancient records. They took, and we've all heard that, oh, not all of the books were put in. It's only 66 books in there, and they left some of the books out. They left a whole lot of them out because that biblioheliotext is part and parcel of the ancient records, but it's been rewritten. That's all. But
as a legal document, Genesis chapter 9 speaks our consanguinity, as Taj Tariq always reminds us of, our bloodline and consanguinity, right? It's chapter 9 in verse 8 says, and God said unto Noah. Verse 9 said, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and your seed after you. Verse 11, and I will establish another lawful word. Establish has a lawful denotation. I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Wait. Verse 12, and God said, this is the token. You can look up token in Black Law's dictionary. It has administrative connotations and denotation. This is the token of the covenant, which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. Verse 13 is the caveat. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. What bow? It's a rainbow. You can put the rainbow on the record for the record.
You're reading chapter 8, Genesis chapter 8.
9, verse 13.
Okay.
The token. The token is spoken of in verse 12, and this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you. But then he says where he's going to put where is the token? The token is, I do set my bow in the cloud.
Yes.
And it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth.
Yes.
And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud.
Oh.
And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. But wait, here goes the last 3 verses. And God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. And then he gives us konsanguinity, before the deluge and after the deluge. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. And these are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. I yield. You can put a rainbow on the record for the record.
Islam. There it is. Islam, there it is. The consanguinity. Let's make sure we note that. Now, again, when you're reading the biblioteliotext, know that the one that we see, it does have a few words mistranslated due to hypothecators doing the translate. But there's the consanguinity piece right there, Genesis chapter 9. That's for us right there. Okay? That's for us. That has everything to do with the Moors, Islam. Nobility, go ahead. I believe it was just yes, no, that was going to say something.
Yes, as the Empress was just reading the passage, I just had an epiphany. We keep referring to the flood. And remember, the biblioteliotext, as many of us know, is our stuff presented in veiled form.
Yes.
And so we're talking. See, our ancient language is symbols. That was our original language. It was symbols, because when you study high antiquity, we didn't at first have a spoken language. We spoke in symbols. We communicated in symbols. And so that harkens back, the symbolism of the biblioteliotext and all of our ancient books of wisdom harken back to a time when we communicated through symbols. And I was thinking when she spoke, when she was talking about the flood, the flood is really admiralty. It's it's really this rampant runaway admiralty, isn't it?
Do you know how long I've been waiting for someone to say that?
But you know, she just sparked that thought as she was reading that passage, and I just thought I want to mention that. I yield.
I've been waiting for
Deuteronomy.
somebody to say
Can I tell you about Deuteronomy 2:9? If we put these on our documents, it's really a wrap, because in Deuteronomy 2:9, with all those House Joint Resolutions, Senate Joint Resolution, and Proclamation 5018, the foundation is konsanguinity, right? And bloodline and birthright. Deuteronomy 2:9. And the Lord said unto me, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. Are you?
Well, there it is. There it is. There it is. In other words, can't nobody have a land. I don't care how much they try to use fiat to get it.
Islam, and that alludes to the reason these people keep denying that we're Moabites. Moabites are extinct.
Yes.
I yield.
Yes, Islam. You know what? Put that on your fiduciary document and see what happens. And then send some delirium and do the process. Listen, I have been hearing along those same lines. I've been hearing the Christian hybrids, and I'm not being disrespectful. I've been hearing them say that it seems that they're developing what we knew was coming, and they call it Chrislam. They're trying to say it's a mixture of Christianity and Islam because the Islamic Muslims are quoting the Bible. But that's not what this is. This is us saying, we gave you that. You took that from our records, and we're taking it back. And we're going to use it to keep you where you're supposed to be, and we're going to do what we're here to do. We're not warring. We're not trying to hurt anyone. We're doing what is right.
Islam. Islam was the last phase when you look at history. The last phase that our people went through, our Islamic phase here on the land, that was the most recent phase. But we've been on this planet for a very long time, and we've gone through many phases. Islam was a going back to those foundational principles. That's why you hear people say Islam is the only religion, because religion is a reliege or a rebinding to those ancient principles of our foremothers and forefathers. That's what Islam is. See, they keep misrepresenting it as something else. It's a going back. That's why Noble Judicialle said, go back to those ancient principles of your foremothers and forefathers, because that's where you find the origin, the foundation of Islam. You know, what we're calling Islam today. Now, millions of years ago we didn't call it that, and yes, it's been many millions of years that we've had civilization. We didn't call it that back then, but that was a more recent phase. I yield.
Wow. Listen, it's a wrap, right? With all of this information, it's a wrap. There is one other scripture that you should put on all of your documents when you're talking about dealing with the hybrid. Yes, Leviticus 25th chapter, but also Isaiah 33:22. That scripture, and we've mentioned this previously, the hybrids even quote that one because that scripture is what their quote-unquote governmental structure is based on. It says, the Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is the Lord is our judge. He's our lawgiver and he's our king. Okay. And it says, it is he who will save us. That's what it says. Isaiah 33:22, and I'm quoting it kind of off the cuff. It's that, though. That is executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. The judge, the lawgiver, and the king. Judicial, legislative, legislative and executive is the king. So when you put that on your document, along with chapter 29 of the Holy Quran, the Circle 7, Holy Quran, as divinely prepared by our prophet Noble Judicialle, at least the first 2 verses, which are my favorite 2 in the whole book, almost, besides all of the books. But when you put those 2 and that with that, and then you put delarium and all of that, you're just bringing everything that we have ever done together for an effective remedy for whatever it is that we're doing. And then we do it like the biblioteliotext says, between each other. Between each other, and then we notify them. But see, even notifying them has a purpose. The purpose of that is witnesses. Because yes, the subjects can serve as witnesses on our thing, except they're serving not because we called them into the process, but because they were sitting there as custodians of that process while we slept. And now all we're saying is you're relieved of your custodial duties for us for this particular thing, this particular action.
Islam. I wanted to add one more thing. I had to reconcile in my mind. My mother's a Christian, my father's a Muslim. But in Deuteronomy, I was able to reconcile with Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 9, and then Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 49. Because it said, get thee up into this mountain Abarim, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho, and behold the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. I yield.
Listen, that's why you don't throw the Bible away. You use it. It's a tool that it proclaims our status as the sovereign heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. And guess what? It even says in there, all the earth. I know we've been saying that there's a certain degree here and a certain degree there that we are the heirs to. It's all the earth. It's the whole earth. It's in there. Empress Tia was on fire this week in terms of vibrating really high and getting downloads and then shooting those downloads over and saying, it was right, look, it was right, look at this, look at this, look at this. You know, you can always tell when someone is vibrating really high. And, you know, we have our days where we go way up to the mountain and then we come down a little bit and even things out a little bit. She was way up there. And scriptures and things and awarenesses were coming so quickly. You know, I said she must have been fasting or she must have drank a ton of water because she is on fire over there. And that happens quite often with the Moors.
Yeah,
you had to be. Because I know that's how the vibrations go up really high with us, is drinking a lot of water and fasting. And the ancestors just bombard us with knowledge and information and remedy and answers when we do that, you know. Islam. I knew it, Empress. I was guessing, but I knew it because I know that energy when I see it. It's beautiful. It's very beautiful, and it transfers easily. Because I was getting fired up over here at the stuff you were saying, Empress. So it's beautiful energy, beautiful. Are there any other? I put them on the screen. The scriptures are on the screen. Let me just make sure that we can see them so that we can add those to our document. Yeah, they're on there. So Hey, and then when I add them to my documents, I put them in red, of course, in all lowercase letters. And then if there are any words that need to be etymologically tweaked and made more precise, then as Phoenicians and as justices and judges, I usually change that word to a word with a similar meaning, but that's more precise. And generally, you know, sometimes you have to go into Hebrew to get a more precise meaning of the word, because Hebrew is a language that is intention-driven. Latin is a language that is driven by the root. Latin is taken from, they take the root and just do whatever with the root. That's what makes up Latin. And that's how come Latin is easy to understand and quote and all of that, because the root word is always going to be what it should be in Latin. And then whatever prefix and suffix is there is just there. You know, you can tell what they're trying to do with the word based on the prefix and suffix. But yeah, I mean, the estate is wide open for us. Access is there. And this is where we are right now more. So let's get ready to move on into full possession. But again, taking our time, step by step, bouncing things off of one another. You know, I get calls from Moors all the time who are bouncing things off of us, and we're bouncing things off of them, and we're learning from each other. We have to continue that. And it starts with just one Moor bouncing things off of, just making contact with one other Moor. So it doesn't have to be a whole lot of us. Let's, you know, in terms of making that contact, Moors, just reach out to one other Moor and make contact, even if it's just by email. And that way you can start bouncing things off one another and getting that energy and that exchange and that vibration and that frequency up, so that you can get some of the other downloads that are coming over here, so that you can do all that you need to do in terms of your demonstrations and getting the information from the ancestors. Islam. Are there any other comments or wisdom? Because that's a lot of wisdom there from, you know, that's a lot of wisdom. I love it. I'm going to be using all of these. I'm adding them to my fiduciary document to make it even better. And then, of course, I already have the Circle 7 Magistrate and Subject, Chapter 29, which I absolutely love. And then I may even put Chapter 1, the first couple of verses, there never was a time when man was not. I might add that to it as well. Because then when you put there never was a time when man was not, and then you put from the Bibliotheliotech about all of the earth being ours, when you put those two together, and then it's on a fiduciary document and you're using Delarium, gold back sovereign Delarium, come on. Come on, Morris. That's, how can anybody rebut that? Corporates cannot rebut all of that tool, firepower. I want to call it firepower, but we're not at war. They can't do anything with that. Except yield. When we're peaceful and competent, they will yield. They will yield. Sometimes people want to say, oh, they're raggedy and they're just lawless and When we get competent and we stay peaceful and we do the study like what Empress Tia is doing there and what we're all doing here, they will step aside. Islam just Israel.
I wanted to share one more thing before we leave, and this lends even more support to what you were saying about the Delarium. And, you know, we know that it sets jurisdiction. But I wanted to share with Moors some of the things that they know about, you know, these things that we've been saying. And this comes from a book called Cracking the Code, Cracking the UCC Code. And this is from a chapter called The Truth About Esquires. It says that payment sets the form of law, i.e. the mode of payment in any particular transaction sets the applicable jurisdiction for resolution of any dispute/controversy arising out of any matter concerning that transaction.
Okay, Justice, can you read that again and tell us exactly where you got that from?
That is from a book called Cracking the Code. It's a book on cracking the UCC code. And I'm putting together a share file in my Dropbox, and I'll put my when you open the chat again, I'll put my email, and anyone who wants access to that share folder, I'll send you a link to it. And so it says.
Why don't I do that now? Well, go ahead, Justice. Go ahead and read it.
It says that, and again, this is from the chapter called The Truth About Esquires. It says that payment sets the form of law, i.e., the mode of payment in any particular transaction sets the applicable jurisdiction for resolution of any dispute/controversy arising out of any matter concerning that transaction.
And just one more time, the name of the chapter?
The name of the chapter is "The Truth About Esquires: Addressing the U.S. Judicial System."
Listen, y'all.
I yield.
Listen. I've been looking for that in the law just to see. You know how you know something in your spirit, but you want to see it in writing. You know the ancestors are telling you that that's the truth. You know that. But to see it in writing, that the form of payment sets the law. We've been saying that about the delarium. We knew that in our spirit.
Well, there it is. I'll put my email in the chat, and then anyone who wants to link, just put in the subject Dropbox. Just write Dropbox in the subject, and I'll know.
Okay, let me open up the chat right now because that's huge.
Okay, and I yield.
Okay. See, listen. And I try not to laugh too hard in our meetings, but this is so good. The chat is open.
Islam.
Oh, listen. Islam nobility.
I have a couple questions. One, I got pulled over last week and I told the man I was telling us to the proper way to do the correction.
For some reason, it sounds like you're underwater. We cannot hear you for some reason. It sounds like it's not clear. You may, you might need to clear that line. It sounds like you're underwater, actually.
And you're breaking up.
Yeah, it is breaking up. So you may want to call back in. I'll unlock the meeting so you can call back in. Do you want to do that, nobility? Okay. Here, I'll unlock it. So, Justice Israel, thank you for that. Because, you know, we knew it in our spirit because we know the law and we know jurisdiction. We know that everything that we do in terms of the jurisdictional piece, everything that we do must be in allodial sovereign status in order for us to move forth. Simply because it just makes sense that, I mean, if you think about it more, the fiat piece seems to have been, and I'm going to put that in past tense, seems to have been the hardest piece for the Moors to get beyond. Because that was something that we had in our hands, and
where's the real numbers today, Polly?
Putting all of that stuff in there. They keep putting all of that in our, in our faces in terms of the, the fiat piece, in an attempt to keep us blinded by that stuff, in an effort to keep us blinded by it. But knowing that we would get beyond that, okay, knowing that at some point we would get beyond the fiat piece. So, and that's another reason why, they insist on coming into the meetings and, trying to do their things, etc. Trying to disrupt the meeting because they knew we were going to get to this point right here where we crack the code, and get things done. They knew that. So to try and, but it wasn't going to work anyway. We got this already. Because anytime the Moors, where one can chase 1,000, two can put 10,000 to flight. And look how many of us it is on this call right here. And I will tell you that the number that we see there is never the right number, because when I get the report says a totally different, much higher number of people coming into this call. They never reflect the right number, but we don't care about that. You know why? Because we know what time it is. We got an ancient watch. We know what time it is. So, thank you for the wisdom and the information. It's valuable, and we will be using those scriptures, which are actually ancient writings rewritten, because for the foreign, I won't call them foreign because they're subjects. For the living subjects of the Moors, which is the modern European, they're all subject to us. The Bible, the Bibliothek, is actually a trust document. That's why we can quote it, and that's why they used to make sure that we would see them put their hand on it and take their oath, and they used to do it in those courts, and they used to do it for the one that was previously doing business as president. They used to put their hand on it, and we were supposed to see that and know what that meant. That they were agreeing to be subject to the Moors. That's why they took an oath and put their hand on the Bibliothek. It's a trust document, just like the Circle 7 is a trust document for us, too. People say, has anyone seen Prophet Noble Judicialle's trust? That's it. The Circle 7, and here it is, divinely prepared, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Circle 7 book, as divinely prepared by the noble Prophet Judicialle. That is a trust document. This is the Prophet's trust. So that means, guess what? If you have one of these, okay, then you have a copy of the Prophet's trust. Do what's in here, and you'll get what it says in here. Right? Magistrate and subject. Yes, Justice Frank, I see you up there. Islam, you got yours on hand. Good. Islam. Justice Gabriel, yes. Trust in the Lord. And who is the Lord? The Moors. So when any of them, and see, some people are not even comfortable with us saying we're the Lord, but then they'll call somebody a landlord in a minute. No, we are the landlord. So let's make sure that we, keep everything and everyone in perspective. This is beautiful study. This is beautiful study. Absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited for us. One last thing before we go, I wanted to put this on the screen. More. We have yet one other place that we can send our documents to. Let us add this to this place right here to our list of documents, places where we send our documents. If you want to just, you know, put one other place out there and send Dollarium, at least I think 80 Dollarium, something like that. I believe it's about $80 in Dollarium. Send that with your documents, okay? There is a Moabitess who is the head librarian at the Library of Congress, okay? And again, they're in subject status, they're in blue. The Library of Congress itself is in blue. There is a Moabitess who is the head librarian, and she's been there since 2016. Her appellation is Carla Hayden. I don't know if she's, you know, a proclaimed Moor or not, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And make sure that at least I'm going to go ahead and put a lien in just to be sure that everyone knows what's being done in terms of the Library of Congress. And, you know, again, we've liened all of them. We've liened everyone. But I usually like to go back and just do put a little extra something on it just to be sure that everyone knows their places and their statuses as we begin moving forward and sending forth our documents and things like that. So I always do a follow-up, and I would encourage you more to do a follow-up on your documents too. If you're you know, dealing with someone that you've not dealt with before, go ahead and put a lien in, okay? Let me see. With that being said, I'm gonna unlock here one last time. And again, that's Carla Hayden, and I put Hayden, Carla, Library of Congress, 101 Independence Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C., 20540, and that is in brackets. Washington, D.C., 20540 is in brackets, in blue. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, anything of that nature? Islam. We will be back assisting one another and sharing this energy and studying and putting all our everything that we have together. We will be back on Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern on this same platform, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern again. And we do this 3 times a week like clockwork, and we've been doing it for years. So let's keep it going, Moors. We got this. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine years, Islam.
Peace and grand rising to the Moors. Peace and grand rising, Moors.
I've come in and you're closing and hi, you're in Jamaica.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Islam.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Is there a way to maybe get a phone call with you, Noble, Pauline?
Yes, Islam.
Is it possible to maybe get a phone call? I'm in Shasha Anbe in Jamaica.
Okay.
And I've been trying. I come in late. I tried to get in, but it was locked. And I've got a few questions. I've got multiple questions, actually. But I recognize that you're leaving now. But would it be possible to maybe give you a call? Or?
Sure. Do you have my number, Empress?
Well, is it the 324 number, or you could give it to me out loud? I've got it up.
Sure.
Please.
Sure. It is 334. It's 334.
Okay.
294.
Okay.
9828.
9828. Tell me a good time to call you.
Do you have a few minutes in about 10 minutes?
I do. Do you have WhatsApp?
I do.
All right, wonderful. In about 10 minutes, I will give you a call. Thank you so much.
And Empress, you're at Jamaica territory?
Yes, I am.
We do need consular activities there at Jamaica, so this is perfect.
All right, wonderful. I look forward to chatting to you.
Yes.
All right. Islam.
Let's do it. All right, Islam. Peace and grand rising, Moors. Islam. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Islam to Jamaica, Moorish American Consulate. Looking forward to that. Islam.
Islam.
Hey, Edmore.